Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, and this is NFGeeks. Well, today is Thursday, or at least when I'm recording this, it's Thursday, and on the NFGeeks forum on Facebook, it's Theme Thursday, where I make a video on a theme, and other people are encouraged to make videos on that theme as well. And so the story of how this theme video came about is very interesting, I think, because yesterday I was trying to think about what to make a video about for a theme, pick a theme, and I just wasn't getting there. I wasn't like coming up with something new or something I wanted to do. You know, I just was just kind of having a block. You know, I was thinking maybe I should do more Karakamos things about being ugly, and there was another video by Mika Kitty or something, and that watching those two kind of fascinated me, in the whole context. But I don't know, I was thinking maybe that's too much, too much on being ugly, because if other people start making videos, that poor girl will think that we're a cult or something about her. So I don't know, I didn't want to do it. And so I went to bed last night not knowing what I was going to do, and I said, well, I'll make something tomorrow, something will come to me. So here's what happened. What happened was I get up at 9 o'clock on Thursdays because I don't have to start teaching till 11. Thursdays are long days. I'm not done till 10 o'clock at night, but I don't start till 11, so I get up around 9. I can sleep in a little bit. And so I'm in bed, and the alarm goes off at 9. It starts beeping, beep, beep, and I reach over to, shut it off, and before my hand can get there, it just stops. It suddenly stops, and the time on the clock goes beep. It just goes right out. And I laid there in bed, and instantly I realized, oh shit, I didn't pay the electric bill. It wasn't like I thought, oh, it must be a transformer on a pole somewhere, or my fuse blew. No, this was about the bill, instantly, because it arrived precisely at 9 o'clock. Like, it was still flashing, 900 when it went out. So I thought, well, what are the chances that this is, a power outage exactly precisely at 9? And it was obviously the electric company, and it was right. I did have an overpaid bill that I hadn't paid yet, so I had to go online and pay it, and I did. So fine. And so that made me think. So I kind of had a chuckle about it, because I was like, boy, wow, am I an ENFP or what? And that made me think about this. It's kind of a common theme that relates to the Being Ugly video and a lot of things, and that is about limitations. And so I want to talk about limitations, my own limitations. Not necessarily the concept of limitations, how it relates to type. Some of that will be in this, but that's not the main purpose of this video, more or less. Because the reason why I say that is that, I always say you're true to type, and it's true. The model works. People give the model so much crap, but it absolutely works, and it is capturing some kind of phenomena about personality and our personalities. It absolutely is. And because one of the criticisms people say of it is, well, if you know your type, you're going to act like your type because you know your type, or you think you know your type. So like if you're an INTJ, you're going to act like an INTJ because you know what the values and orientations and behaviors and thought processes of INTJ are, because you memorized it, and now you're going to do it solely because you memorized it, okay? And this incident today, I never thought that was true anyway, but this incident today certainly, in my mind, proved to me that that is completely false. And I say that because I have not been walking around for the past couple of weeks in my head saying, well, as an ENFP, I shouldn't pay the bill so that I can emulate that this is my type. And I wasn't thinking that. In fact, here's why it's ENFP, and this is real. I wasn't thinking anything. There was nothing going on. I completely forgot about this. Totally. Maybe a month ago I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I should pay that. And then it was gone. The semester started. I think the semester started up, and I was too busy dealing with the semester. So there was no sort of attempt on my part to consciously act like an ENFP on this issue. In fact, it was the total opposite. Okay, I was not in any way thinking at all about any of this, but it manifested, just like it, it does for ENFPs. It totally manifested like that, and that was very interesting to me, So I wanted to talk about that. Talk about what are the limitations? What are my limitations in terms of ENFP? That's what I want to talk about, or just in terms of me, or whatever. And the thing about paying the bills, I've always had trouble with that. That's why I would sort of silently chuckle with it. And again, it's not conscious. I'm not consciously saying, oh, I'm an ENFP, I better hold off on this. It just happens, okay? The one that's the worst that I've consistently missed on is the cable internet bill. You'd think, running NFGeeks, that I would be up on that one, but that's actually the one I miss the most. Sometimes, and Noah gets all upset, because he has no internet, and now what do we do? So, yeah, it could be troubling, certainly. But, so the bill thing is real, okay, at least with me. And I think this speaks to the disorganization of being an ENFP and my own disorganization. And my own disorganization doesn't come from laziness. It comes from being overwhelmed and being so emotionally overwhelmed, coming to sort of a halt, and coming to a stop and unable to move because it becomes too much. I think that's more obvious. The behavior is more obvious in INFP. The amount it's affecting them isn't as obvious. Whereas I think the behavior in ENFP is less obvious because we're more out there and whatever. But that's a common problem I've had, and the disorganization is a result of being overwhelmed, of just being overwhelmed and not being able to keep up, and then everything becoming disorganized and chaos. A good example of this actually is NFGeeks itself. I get a lot of emails, as you can imagine. I get a lot of emails and messages and whatever. And sometimes they come all at once. Sometimes it's just like every now and then one comes in. And this is true on Facebook and the YouTube channel. They come in a little bit, and then all of a sudden a ton come in, and I can barely keep up with them, especially if people are responding back and forth with me. It becomes hard to do that, because sometimes on a night I'll be talking to 2 or 3 people at once or whatever. Now, for the rest of you who do this, maybe that's okay, but it's very hard for me because I'm trying to pay attention and be a source of information and trying to, take people through things. It takes a certain level of thinking and a certain level of care and a certain level of responsibility, and I'm not just screwing around. So sometimes it gets a lot, and then I start getting backlogged, I'm not catching up enough with all the emails or whatever. And what happens is that on the Facebook thing, they start going down, they disappear, like the ones I haven't answered or responded to disappear, and there's already new ones coming in, so I never get to the old ones. So there comes a point, sort of a cutoff point, whereas if I don't answer an email after a certain point, it gets totally out of my consciousness, because now I'm dealing with whatever's coming at me now. So a lot of the disorganization really comes from feeling emotionally overwhelmed. And so there's 2 things about that. Is that one, it's not an accident that I feel like a fuck up because of things like, look, I fucked up the bill. You know what I mean? Like, it's not people like, no, Mike, you're not a fuck up. No, I am. I am. Electricity went out exactly at 9 a.m. It's real. So it's not an accident that I think like that. But really, how I feel about it is vulnerable. That's really the feeling I have. Is vulnerability more than anything else, I think. All of those things are around, feeling overwhelmed and whatever, but really just feeling, just very vulnerable and fragile about everything, and easily knocked off my center, like that. And it's not a good vulnerability. It's not a vulnerability like, I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like allowing myself to have an opening where danger could come in and bad things will happen. That's how it actually feels, more like that. And certainly I have concerns about it and worries about it. I get sort of scared about it. I also think that this overwhelmingness is why I and other ENFPs have a hard time staying on task. Because there's so many things, and we think about, I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and there's so many things I need to do, or so many things I could do, it could be positive, and it becomes an overwhelming thing. I could tell you NFGeeks is exactly like that. I have, for everything I do for NFGeeks, there's 15 things that I'm thinking about, good and bad, that I'm trying to manage or implement or avoid or whatever. There's always a ton of other things I'm thinking about, and very few of them get implemented I shouldn't say that. They get implemented, but it takes a long time for any one thing to get implemented because it's in a sea of ideas, and I'm sort of overwhelmed by all of it, to do it and to get it done. There's always something I'm trying to do that I'm not able to do, or just something like that. It becomes a real challenge for me. And again, I think that comes from being overwhelmed, okay, and feeling overwhelmed, that it's too much and I can't handle it, and then I sort of shut down in a way. And it's usually about the shutting down is about life things like things like taking care of the house and taking care of NFGeeks and things like that. Not so much job, a little bit it's job. Sometimes I'm just barely making it, with correcting papers and things like that. But being on time and being prepared for my lecture and all that, I'm actually pretty good at that, And I'm pretty on point with relationships and things. I try to, even though I get overwhelmed in relationships, which a lot of NFs do, certainly INFPs and ENFPs. But I don't know, I'm more on task with that one. Even though I'm overwhelmed and flipping out, I'm trying to do it. That leads to, though, a next thing, which is flipping out. That is part of, I think, ENFP. Granted, all the types flip out, so I'm talking about the way ENFPs flip out. And the ENFP flip out is the rage rant. That's our flipping out. We don't get a lot of empathy for that when it's happening, because it's loud and it's big and it's and it's nonstop and it just keeps going. It's like a freight train off the rails. It's just going down. But when that happens, that's a sign of overwhelmedness. Not that you should have empathy. Well, you should have empathy. Doesn't mean you have to be accepting of the ENFP rage rant and think that it's okay and just let it go. But I do think empathy is important to understand that it too comes from being overwhelmed. It comes from feelings of overwhelmed, and then you can't take it. I mean, for myself, I can't take it anymore. I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I can't handle it anymore. I'm trying to. I'm doing my best, and then finally, it explodes. It comes out, where I then let somebody know exactly how overwhelmed I am. It doesn't come across that way, of course. Anybody's flip out never comes across the right way. Any flip out from any of the types never comes across as what the process is underneath it. And that's because people are reacting to whatever the flip out is. They're not thinking what's going on behind. And even when you're MBTI, even I know MBTI backwards, and it's still hard to get there sometimes. Sometimes I'm reacting so much to the flip out that I can only get to the process behind it after it's over and I've calmed down. Their flip out or mine, it doesn't even matter which one is going. So that rant comes from an overwhelmedness and an anxiety about it. And I think you can hear it. I can hear it. When I'm having one of my own ENFP rage rants, I can hear the nervousness in it. I don't know if anyone else does, because it's coming in at shouting level, but I can hear I can hear in my own voice the real anxiety about it, even though it's anger or something like that. I can hear the overwhelmedness, because it feels like I can't take it anymore. That's what it feels like, and that's sort of a symbol of overwhelmedness, I think. Now, saying that, again, I'll hit this point home to finish up, and that is that having the limitations sucks, but knowing them is good, okay? And being aware of them, and being aware that they exist, and being conscious about it, and not bullshitting yourself about it. I don't lie to myself about where this all is in my life and how this is all affecting me, in terms of not being organized, overwhelmedness, frustration, all the stuff I talked about. I acknowledge that, and I do try to work with it, And one of the ways to work with it at the beginning of this, and I did this today, I reminded myself of this today, and that is to just forgive yourself. Okay? Instead of beating yourself up about what a jackass you are, okay? And that doesn't mean you let yourself go. I mean, you might want to acknowledge that, yes, I am a jackass, but not to beat yourself up over it, and to just kind of accept it. It happens, your limitations, now move on. Try to fix it. Do your best you can. That's what I thought of this morning, to just not beat myself up over it, And there are moments where I did. I started beating myself oh my God, no wonder I'm a fuck up. They all said in my video I was wrong. Oh, they're wrong. I kind of went in there, and then I thought, okay, no, that's just beating yourself up. Honestly, it was foolish. You shouldn't have let it happen, but it's fixable. Repair it right now and move on. So that, I was able to do that today. And that's how I was able to do this video, to have enough confidence to do this. And lastly, though, the last point is that and I've said this a million times, I don't think the answer so much is trying to change who you are. Okay, like obviously I should be a little more organized, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. But to allow people to help you, instead of doing it all yourself, interconnect with others, to help you out and listen to them and trust them. So for example, I need to trust judgers, for this. If I had told Noah, see, I should have told Noah, like, Noah, you keep track of when I pay this bill. Boy, that kid would have it down to the minute. Okay, of exactly when. I haven't done that, because he's my son. But he's 18. I could do that, and ask him to do that. Maybe I will. But it means, relying on people who have a different set of skills than you and allowing them to help you, okay, instead of trying to do it all by yourself. See, I think we don't want to allow people to help because that would acknowledge that we have deficits, you know what I mean, that are there. And so we try to fix it all ourselves and that somehow we're going to be perfect and all lined up. But really, the right thing to do, I think, is to allow people into your life to help you. And that's hard. It's hard for me. It's certainly hard. It's not easy, Like even asking Noah, it's just, he's 18. Am I going to ask him to do this? I'm 44. Shouldn't I know? See, that's the fuck up thing, going in my head. But what's so wrong in having him help? What's wrong with having a family where everybody works with each other? Because I have gifts too that others don't have and that he doesn't have or whatever, and I can give them and help them. And that's the type of world I want to live in. A world where it's okay to have the deficits you have because everyone is helping each other out with their stuff, and making that happen. So for me, I need a J. I need J's in my life. Ironically, since I grew up with J's and they were, very difficult to live under, ironically. But truth of the matter is, I need a J in my life. Maybe more than one. Maybe more than two. I don't know, But I don't feel bad about that. I think it's okay to have these deficits and have people come together, and that's what a community should be. A community should be people helping each other and helping each other through the things that they can't do, to help. That's why you need help. That's why you need a community. I mean, that's why the whole purpose of civilization and community exists, really, if you think about it. All right, I think that's my final sort of big thought about it. So I'd like to hear what, if those of you want to make a video, what deficits do you have or limitations that you have related to your type, and how do they affect your life? And how do they make your life a little more miserable, a little more difficult, and how does it repeat? What's the repeated pattern of it? One last thing before I go is that if you are doing this thing that I said at the beginning where you're thinking, oh, well, I am an INTJ and INTJs act a certain way and I need to be this way to be an INTJ. Okay, if you are actually doing that, that's not evidence of the model being wrong. That's evidence of you being typed wrong. Okay? Because if you have to think through the behaviors of your type so you can be that type, that's not your type. Okay, you've been mistyped in some way or others or whatever. Because if you are your type, okay, if you are the right type, you will do the things, good and bad, without realizing it and without thinking about it, okay? And it'll actually catch you off guard if there's some sort of feedback or blowback or something that directly relates to your type, positive or negative, okay? When it comes back at you, it's sort of shocking, like this morning, I mean, I laughed about it a little, but it was really ENFP. The electricity went right off, and it wasn't until that moment that I realized, oh, that's right, I'm an ENFP, aren't I? But before that, I wasn't thinking anything about this, it wouldn't even occur to me. So that means you're mistyped, so you need to be typed correctly, ideally. All right, so that's it. So make your videos, and again, let me just reiterate this point: do not beat yourself up for these limitations. It's okay. Forgive yourself for having these limitations. It'll be hard because first you'll start beating yourself up like I did. Boy, I'm a fuck up. See, I did it right in the video. You'll start doing that, and then just let it go and forgive yourself and say, okay, it happened. Just move on. Go on to the next thing. Try to fix it. If it's fixable, fix it. And you'll be better. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.